Now, another interesting thing I'll say about this new song of Tom's is that he's posted to the internet that sales from it, streams from it, whatever profits are generated from this track will be going together into a donation. But he's like kind of waiting.
Wait, he's donating to TBD? It will be donated. Oh, to who? To like a Charlie Kirk Foundation? We'll announce later. You know what? I've discovered the org I want to donate it to. TBD. I don't have to show you the Charlie Kirk funeral because I'm sure a lot of you have had to deal with right-wingers trying to pump it into every corner of social media. But here's what's his name for Kasha Bread? For some MAGA rapper was basically outside of Charlie Kirk's funeral. Doing a music video based on Charlie Kirk outside of the memorial. And I was just like, it's just such a blatant grift. Like everyone just basically grifting against each other. Just, you know, like I couldn't imagine being outside of someone's funeral and being like, hey, by the way, t-shirts for sale. I got t-shirts for sale. Charlie Kirk t-shirts. You want to buy my Charlie Kirk t-shirts? Charlie Kirk is Lord. Here's the t-shirts. Buy Charlie Kirk t-shirts. But everyone's doing that. He's filming a music video that he's going to be selling online. There's going to be, they're all crushing it on Spotify, iTunes, all that kind of stuff. All these fucking Charlie Kirk songs are doing absolute numbers right now. And then filming it outside of the memorial service itself with a whole bunch of other people. I don't want to play the song, the Benny Hill theme. But you pretty much get the idea, right? Again, just stuff that you would think would be seen as reprehensible. Like, hey, that's a memorial service for a person that you're all pretending to care about. You're all saying that you love the guy, that now he should be deified as a saint, that no one should ever speak ill of his name, and you're literally outside of his memorial service filming your music video for a song you're going to sell online. Like, isn't this gross? Don't any of you have shame? I was noticing, like, the chyrons during, like, some of the clips of the funeral were for things for sale. Like, you know, text this number right now to buy blah, blah, blah. Use a code word Charlie to get 10% off the blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, doesn't anyone in your own camp see this as gross? Like, honestly, I think that the guy was, again, a white supremacist, an extremist, a far-right fucking preacher of hate. That's my own views on Charlie Kirk. That's my own personal beliefs. And I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't go there and be like, hey, by the way, everybody, I'm here to fucking sell you t-shirts based on his life and shit like that. Again, yeah, it's the hyper-capitalist brain combined with, like, the fact that no one is being shamed for this, or it's not even seen as shameful.
Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. Especially considering that we are currently living in very dark, dystopian, and anxiety-inducing times. If you've been online in the past few weeks, most likely you've seen some pretty horrifying stuff. Things that are becoming so frequent and increasingly terrible, I'm not even sure where to start. But what I do want to highlight is how fundamentally unprepared the current day media landscape is to deal with these conversations and these stories that are currently going viral and instilling a lot of polarization. And again, there are many instances of this, but the latest of all of them that kind of inspired me to do this video is this recent music video from none other than DaBaby. Yes, that DaBaby, who hasn't made a hit song or had a relevant feature in like years at this point. He's somehow back in the discourse yet again off of this new music video he has dropped on social media, which featured a dramatization of the recent and very tragic and violent killing of Irina Zarutska, a Ukrainian who was living in America and was recently seen being killed on security cam footage on public transit. If you haven't seen it, don't go look for it. It's horrifying. It is stomach churning. When digging further into the background of the suspect in this killing, DeCarlos Brown, the guy clearly had a history of very serious mental health issues, and at one time even called the police to investigate man-made materials inside his body. I don't know. I feel like anybody who is engaging in that sort of behavior shouldn't necessarily be arrested and locked away with the key thrown away, but they should at the very least like be put into some kind of system or program or something that is going to hopefully mentally put that person on the right track so that they're not slipping through the cracks and presenting as a danger to society because they have no help, no support, no nothing. That is the kind of discourse that we would be having in a sane society. But instead, what is happening as a result of the proliferation of this video are these intensified, bigoted narratives around race in America.
Top Hat Samurai, thank you for the sub. Hey Serfs and Serfettes, hope you're all doing best. Odd question, but in a roleplay game, I'm going to be playing a native character. As a non-native, I wanted to do it respectively and use it as a chance to learn more about native culture. So in the name of Chipti Adali, good or non? I mean, it depends on, I don't know what game you're playing and if they're actually using real indigenous history or if they're just making it up. Like you can usually tell if you, like there's a lot of bigger companies right now, thanks to Woke, that have actually done the job of consulting indigenous people and actually hiring them on the games, which is a really good thing, and then they should keep doing that and then making sure that they're actually properly consulting history. But if it's just complete fantasy but then they're adding, you know, indigenous characters to it, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily respectful.
America. And the discourse around all of this is so scattershot and so insane. Personally, from an outside perspective, it just kind of feels like it's something that cannot be untangled right now. As I feel like most people are kind of not so much seeing the situation as much as they are seeing and hearing about the way it's being exploited to push political narratives, increase the sense of paranoia and fear that your average everyday person feels when just walking down the street, and are maybe disengaging from it out of fear that they would be adding fuel to those flames. And when you do have somebody step up to the plate in the way DaBaby did here with this song and music video, it is a completely cringe misfire, not only in terms of the content of the song itself, seemingly having very little to do with what the music video is dramatizing in a literal sense, but of course, like DaBaby paints himself in the video as like this heroic bystander who just happened to grab the hand of the perpetrator in the video just as he was going to stab, and sort of, you know, just prevented the whole thing from happening. Just needed DaBaby to stop him, and then we can just get off the train and everybody's cool. Like, it's a clear attempt at communicating and saying something deep. I mean, even the hashtag DaBaby attaches to the video on Twitter insinuates that there's some kind of message here that you know, we can't miss. We gotta catch on to this message. I have to wonder, on some level, with this piece of media being as exploitative as it is, it's clearly taking advantage of a very terrible moment. Does DaBaby in some twisted way think he's doing the right thing here? Like, did he just happen to see this video and see it getting shared over and over and over, and maybe he didn't really understand the greater social context in which it's being shared and pushed, and the fact that Black communities across America are being scapegoated as having some kind of like responsibility for this, as opposed to it once again being the doings of one mentally ill man who was clearly not helped by the system. No, DaBaby's post here doesn't really seem to understand or grasp that element of this at all. Like, there truly is very little to be gleaned from this music video DaBaby has put up, outside of like murder is bad, and if you catch somebody who's about to commit a heinous...
Yeah, I am going to talk about the Trump announcement on autism, but I haven't watched the press conference yet. Is it still going on live? I'll try to find it. It's ended. But yeah, I guess I'll find the highlights. Or is it it's
such
waiting
as this
to
one
start?
In the right exact...
Because I've noticed the Trump announcement is currently this.
Perfect moment and reason with him immediately, as if you had a premonition of what was going to happen.
They're blaming Tylenol. Of course they are. why blame anything? Do you realize how fucked up it is to blame things for autism as if it's something that like needs to be eliminated from society? Could you be any more of a eugenicist? It's just like every time I hear this argument come out of anyone, it doesn't matter who they are. They can also just be fucking, you know, deluded, weird, bizarre hippie wine moms who are just like, oh, apparently there's more adulterants and plastic in our food, and that's causing the rise of autism. I was like, when you say that, what do you think? Like, okay, first off, causing the rise, the like, our scientific understanding of the spectrum of autism has increased dramatically, and that is a wondrous thing, and not something you should be shitting all over, and not something you should be looking towards ending. It's like back in the day, we not only didn't understand a lot of things that we now diagnose as autism, we used to institutionalize people for what we considered to be you know, mental disorders or stuff like that. Like it's absolutely grotesque the way we used to treat people with a variety of different conditions. And in the case of autism, yeah, our understanding of it has increased, our ability to early detect it has increased, and our ability to understand that it's actually a wide range of a spectrum has also increased. This is all great news. This is fantastic news. This is not something you should look at and then suddenly be like, oh my god, oh, but there are more rates ever than before. Yeah, more detection ever than before. That doesn't mean that there's an outside factor that's suddenly increasing the rate of autistic children. That means our ability to understand what autism is and properly diagnose it has been enhanced. Those are two totally different things. So all of the weirdos from, you know, the Tucker Carlsons, the Joe Rogans, the RFK Juniors, who are getting in front of cameras and being like, we now know autism is blah blah blah. It's just like, well, what the fuck? That, like, it's not something that we should be effectively trying to be like, we can cure it. We can get rid of it. We can eliminate it if we just eliminate Tylenol.
Happen in the first place, then temperatures can cool down and everything will be fine after. At the end of the day, this just kind of feels like DaBaby making this very serious, very horrible situation about him, which leads me to move on to the high-profile political assassination of conservative social media influencer of TPUSA founder, the late Charlie Kirk, who was recently, as I'm sure you know at this point, gunned down on the campus of a Utah university while doing what he did quite famously, debate college students about various political issues and positions from a conservative standpoint. Now, I guess I should probably say off the bat, just for anyone who's confused and is curious and needs to be assured of this, I completely do not endorse the killing of this man. And very much like the Zarutska killing, but times 10, the discourse around this has been even more confusing because obviously there's even more incentive for this to be politically exploited, with numerous influencers and massive brands across conservative social media calling for civil war in the wake of this. And on top of that, untold numbers of people looking for any way they can to spin this so that it has something to do with trans people. First, trolls, internet users, and various posters online were infatuated with the idea of the killer themselves being trans. Then once it became clear that was not the case, we were then thinking about how there were trans things on the bullet casings. And now that we've seen more info around what was etched into those bullet casings, and, you know, believe me, even that is confusing and coded and was released by the FBI in a way to where there was very little context around it, which only created more sort of like polarizing takes on what any of these etchings mean. All I'm saying is the official narrative and investigation around it, in terms of the information that has been divulged thus far, has not been helpful at all in terms of quelling confusion around these messages. And yes, now that we have learned more about what was actually on those...
Yeah, just to understand the timeline, it went from the shooter's trans to, okay, fine, the shooter's not trans, but the bullets are trans. They've got trans codes on them. Then it turns out, no, notice his bulge, oh whoa, is not trans ideology. It's actually a reference to an old internet meme where it's making fun of furries and furries flirting with each other. Okay, fine. Oh, but the shooter's roommate was trans. wait, no, the shooter's lover, that was actually a romantic partner, was trans. So there you go. We have it. Case closed. Trans ideology. And then it's just like, okay, we've gone for, and then that upgraded to the shooter listens to a musician on the Spotify playlist, is a musician that has had some trans themes in it. So that, there you go. Conclusive. The shooter has been indoctrinated by trans ideology. And again, like, it doesn't matter. The overwhelming amount of evidence which is out now, all that we know, and thanks to the reporting of the person on screen right now, Ken Klippenstein, we understand a lot more about the shooter than we did before. This happens to be, again, a white, cis male who was from a MAGA family, a family of ex-cops, ex-Marines, and preachers that was heavily online, into video game culture, into memes and stuff like that, in the Discord group itself, because Ken Klippenstein has revealed the logs so we can see what they were talking about. They were actually really apolitical. They were not really ever in one direction or another praising Trump or condemning Biden, or praising Biden and condemning Trump. You know, people are complex. Someone can be both gay and Republican. Someone can be both pro-guns and be a leftist. This is just the world we live in. And someone in this case can, again, be a Mormon from a MAGA family of registered Trump Republicans, ex-cops, ex-Marines, preachers, be very pro-guns, pro-Second Amendment, having learned how to use guns and trained how to use guns from an early age, but also be pro-gay and or be gay themselves, and or also be into supporting trans rights and stuff like that. That's all potentially true. And like the inability for the right to accept that narrative, because they've gone just full-blown, no, this is because of trans people. On one end, by the way, the two conspiracy theories that are dominating the right wing are either the shooter was trans, and the shooter or was indoctrinated by trans ideology, or had a trans lover or something like that. And that's enough for us to be like, this is a leftist and a leftist organization. And it's like, no, that is not indicative of being a leftist. If that was the case, if being LGBTQ plus was just mean you were by default a leftist, is Dave Rubin a leftist? Is Peter Thiel a leftist? Is Benny Johnson a leftist? Is Nick Fuentes a leftist? Is Caitlyn Jenner a leftist? Are any of these people leftists? No. You can be someone who happens to be LGBTQ plus and be a right winger. You can be someone who's LGBTQ plus and also, be completely fine with things like being pro-gun and being pro-Second Amendment and stuff like that. Like, again, the inability for people to try and actually look for facts and understand the story could not be more evident there. It's the same thing, like, yes, there was more evidence pointing towards the fact that the person might be involved in right-wing meme culture, groypers, Pepe frogs, all that kind of stuff at first. But then as more information came out, you have to eventually look at the facts and be like, all right, there isn't direct or hard evidence that this person, in fact, was a follower of Nick Fuentes. We don't have that. There's no conclusive evidence towards that. We do have evidence that points towards them being largely apolitical, being extremely online, and also being very, very pro-guns, and at the same time being, for trans rights, or at least not against trans rights. There's evidence towards that, especially coming from, again, these leaked Discord logs. Outside of that, that's the extent of the information that is publicly available. Everyone else is just doing wish casting or doing their own narratives or trying to set their own standard. And that's the one corner of the right. The other corner of the right, thanks to Candace Owens and whatever the fuck she's on, has just gone full steam ahead with like, well, we don't know if this was because Charlie started questioning Israel. We don't know if he had a meeting or was going to have a meeting with Bill Ackman where he was going to be apparently reprogrammed or something to do with that effect. We don't know at this point if he was even shot by that shooter, because it's very suspicious. Have you seen how quickly the shooter was able to escape? Being able to wrap up a gun in that amount of time under extreme stress, I might add, with the adrenaline like flowing through his veins, put that into a backpack, carry the backpack, and then successfully get past authorities, while at the same time this is supposed to be done in this matter of minutes? I don't think that's true. Also, more evidence is coming out that the bullet never actually even escaped Charlie Kirk's neck, so that Charlie Kirk prevented more death from happening from some kind of miraculous preservation of the bullet within his own body. But that's also weird, because if you look behind Charlie Kirk, there was people who were giving hand signals. What did those hand signals mean? We have to ask that as well. And at the same time, why were there specific people who were both present at Charlie Kirk shooting as well as Donald Trump shooting? Is this the same person? We don't know. Like, that's what's happening on the other corner. The whole Candace Owens, Ian Carroll's, Alex Jones, They're running with that. And then meanwhile, on the other side, you've got the Matt Walshes and the Laura Loomers who are being like, this was trans ideology, trans shooter, trans bullets, super trans. So that's the two corners of the right now. And I was like, as you do all this madness, effectively, how many people are actually going to be able to, like, you know, build a case and actually catch and then charge and then convict the person who killed Charlie Kirk? All of the people across the board here who are proclaiming to be Charlie Kirk's best friends, or they love Charlie Kirk, or they were completely on board with his political project and all this kind of stuff, it seems like every single one of you is completely fine with running with the wildest conspiracy theories online, which are definitely going to damage the ability for the FBI to make a case against the person who is most likely the shooter. Why is it that, like, you know, the leftists who despise Charlie Kirk are the ones being like, well, yeah, I mean, the evidence clearly points towards this person. At this point, I mean, it is alleged, innocent until proven guilty. I'll grant you all that. But, like, that person did admit in a Discord group to having done it to their friends. And their friends, by the way, were not like, excellent, the prophecy has been fulfilled, Antifa, activate. They were like, oh my God, that's terrible. Pray for that man. Pray for Charlie Kirk. Pray for him and his family. That was the responses coming from the other people who were in the Discord group. Like, again, it's just wild, you know?
Bullet casings. Now we're all talking about how the shooter's roommate or partner might be trans. And if that doesn't end up being the case, I'm sure we're going to learn the shooter had a trans bus driver at some point. We'll see. I also want to say, far and away, the vast majority of mass shootings and incidents like this are not committed by trans people, are not committed by leftists. I don't feel like that should require saying, because that's just obvious fact, but apparently it does require saying because there are some stupid people who believe that.
I just want to point towards one important part of the story that came out over the weekend, which is pretty telling. According to NBC News, no evidence found yet of ties between Charlie Kirk's shooting and left-wing groups, the officials say. 3 people familiar with the federal probe into Kirk's assassination told NBC News that investigators have yet to find a link between the alleged shooter and left-wing groups. What? The CEO of Antifa wasn't responsible. The federal investigation into the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk has yet to find a link between the alleged shooter, the BLEP, and left-wing groups on which President Donald Trump and his administration have pledged to crack down on after the killing. 3 sources familiar with the probe told NBC News. One person familiar with the federal investigation said, thus far, there is no evidence connecting the suspect with any left-wing groups. I know, it's not a surprise to me, but yes, obviously, the entire idea here, and this is being done again by a fucking inept conspiracist podcaster trying his best to just Mr. Magoo himself through the worst fucking handling of a case I've seen in quite some time. But Kash Patel and his FBI have been trying desperately to frame the left for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. And that doesn't matter whether or not it's true, because the right have already run with that as their narrative. That's why they keep saying they silenced him for his speech. They took him out because they couldn't debate him. They. And, like, it doesn't matter if you present them with overwhelming amounts of facts to the contrary. If you're like, well, actually, when it comes to extremist political violence, according to right-wing sources like the Cato Institute, overwhelmingly, it's right-wing extremists. They dominate it in the category of political violence. Political violence is over-represented by the right. The right are the ones committing the political violence. In terms of people actually respecting people who have been the victims of political violence, the right does not. You can look at the Minnesota, shooting that took place recently. You can also point towards Nancy Pelosi's husband getting cracked in the skull with the hammer, and the right all mocking him, including Charlie Kirk, by the way. Multiple people making fun of and/or saying, well, they should absolve the person who, attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband. And that is just like, well, this is really fucked up. What about the Club Q shooting? What about that violent right-wing extremist, the anti-LGBTQ plus shooter who did an act of terrorism, committed a hate crime, killed 4 people in Club Q, including injuring 24 other people. And in the midst of all that, every right-winger and the response to it, including Charlie Kirk's, was, well, I mean, this was a grooming event. What did you expect? We told you to stop grooming. We told you to stop being pedophiles. That's so fucked up. That was Tim Pool's response to the entire massacre. And that honestly was a turning point for a lot of people, where they actually were just like, these individuals do not care. They have absolutely zero empathy. They are, again, operating like monsters. That's monstrous to look at a violent act, an act that actually massacred a bunch of people, stole them from this world, and then to respond to it by calling them pedophiles. That's fucked up. That's so grotesque and fucked up, and still, it doesn't matter. And in the case of this, you can have overwhelming amounts of evidence that show that this individual was not trans. This individual was not doing what they were doing in, support of trans ideology or whatever they're trying to spin. The shooter wasn't trans. The bullet casings were not trans. And even if the shooter's roommate / potential partner turns out to be trans, that doesn't mean that that was the reason for the shooting. This is all so weird and grotesque, but hey, they want to run with this. And as soon as they started announcing, we're going to crack down on leftist organizations, we're going to crack down on Antifa. All right, do it. Antifa isn't an organization. Like, it'd be one thing if you were like, I'm going to crack down on the DSA. I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to label the DSA as a terrorist organization. Then, okay, fine. You have a structure. You have people. You have funding. You have like a set. With Antifa, you're trying to shut down an idea, and now you're just going to be able to go after any group that you want. That in some ways is more terrifying. But hey, if you are worried about being called Antifa and being punished for it, why don't you just say that you're Antifash? That's a different org. No, I'm not part of Antifa. That's a disgusting ass terrorist organization. I would never associate myself with it. I'm Antifash. Antifash. I'm against fascism, right? I hate Mussolini. I hate Hitler. I hate Pol Pot. I hate Pinochet. I hate fascists. That's what I'm all about. Antifash. And there you go. That's my org. Antifash. It has nothing to do with Antifa. Antifa is a disgusting, deplorable terrorist organization. I agree with you. They should be brought to heel. But Antifash. That's what I'm all about, because I hate fascism and fascists. Who likes fascism, right? Isn't fascism bad? We can all agree. Adolf Hitler, terrible guy, horrifying monster, right? Yeah, so let's fight it. Let's fight the fascism. There you go. Every indication so far is that this was one guy who did one really bad thing because he found Kirk's ideology personally offensive, this person continued. In addition, two of the people familiar with the probe said it may be difficult to charge the shooter at the federal level for the killing, while the third source said there is still an expectation that some kind of federal charge is filed against him. Factors that have complicated the effort to bring charges at the federal level include the shooter, a Utah resident, did not travel from out of state. Kirk was shot during an open campus debate at Utah Valley University. Additionally, Kirk himself is not a federal officer or an elected official. A Justice Department spokesman said the investigation is ongoing, but beyond that, we decline to comment. The shooter currently faces state charges, which were announced on Tuesday. He's being charged with aggravated murder and obstruction of justice, amongst others, and prosecutors are seeking the death penalty in the case. Prosecutors have said that the shooter targeted Kirk, the co-founder of conservative political group Turning Point USA, because of his political expression. His mother told investigators, in part, that over the past year or so, he had become more political and had started to lean more to the left. So this is almost exclusively coming from the mother's testimony. That includes the fact that he was in a relationship with a trans person, by the way. It's coming from the mother's testimony. The FBI is frequently involved in domestic terrorism investigations that ultimately result in state-level charges. As is always the case, the FBI needs a federal hook to initiate an investigation. Here it appears that they're acting in assistance to state authorities' capacity. Charging documents filed Tuesday also contain a series of texts between the shooter and a roommate, whom police described as a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with the suspect and is transitioning to female. The roommate's identity has not been made public. And, yeah, that's insofar as we know.
To reduce this down to the simplest and most aggressive terms they can is going to come out on top in some sort of way, because you're, by virtue of that, giving confused internet users seeking answers some kind of narrative to latch onto, just to make this whole very scary thing easier to grasp. Enter in Tom MacDonald, who somehow came out with a Charlie Kirk song before we even had video of this man in an open casket with his wife giving a statement. Now, of course, the song itself is highly emotionally manipulative, complete trash. Sounds like flow for flow, a complete ripoff of at least several Macklemore songs, because Tom MacDonald only exists to steal flows and ideas from basically every relevant white rapper there ever was, just to kind of chew them up and spit them out with a bunch of right-wing talking points. Which,
if you didn't know, by the way, Ronald McDonald, he used to be a wrestler. Yeah, so he was a Canadian. He's a Canadian. It's wild that, like, you know, the king of MAGA fucking rap happens to be a white Canadian who was like a wrestler for a while, and then like obviously has changed entertainment genres numerous times. But yes, you're talking about opportunism and slop of the highest order.
This tribute track is obviously chock full of, even though as of right now, with as much material and information as we have, the shooter and his family background doesn't seem like super woke or anything like that. But who the hell knows what woke means to your average conservative at this point? Because online, we're all just playing like this endless game of moron telephone where every single time a word or a term or a phrase or a meme is repeated, it just loses more and more and more of it.
Canada strikes again. I know. I'm sorry. God damn. I can't Canadian apologize enough. It's just like every single right-wing pundit in the US at some point. It's like, hey, by the way, Lauren Chan, Lauren Southern, Stephen Crowder, Gavin McInnes, Jordan Peterson, they're all Canadian. Yeah. Tom MacDonald too, by the way. Yeah. Like right-wingers are constantly like, whenever I call it out and I put them on blast and I'm like, you're Canadian, dude. What are you doing? Why are you doing the like, we believe in the red, white, and blue, America the brave, home of the free, all that kind of shit, like destroy the woke. I'm like, you're a goddamn Canadian. They'll be like, he's no longer Canadian. Yeah, you can't claim him. I was like, I don't claim him. Fuck that guy. I just think it's funny. I think it's really, really funny. And all y'all are just like, no, he applied for U.S. citizenship. He's an American now. Red, white, and blue, baby. All right, good. You can have him. You can, America, you can have him. One less shitty fucking Canadian white rapper on the fucking record. Fantastic.
Meeting. Yeah, in his rush to post this song, Tom seemingly also doesn't fully understand like Charlie Kirk's age. Like the guy was not barely 31, like he was about to turn 32, which might not seem like a big deal, but this compiled with basically like every generic average perception of him that like, you know, maybe casual internet users that came across one or two YouTube videos of him debating online, like whatever that average Charlie Kirk content consumer thought of Charlie, Tom is basically packed into this song, and knowingly so, because Tom wants to ride this wave right to the end so that he can maximize the amount of attention he's going to get out of it. And that's really the discussion here, because not only is Tom...
Oh, not him. Like every right-wing fucking grifter right now is just putting out so much slop. The Quartering, I think at this point, has like close to 30 fucking videos on this, just constantly every single day, just like video after video after video. He also makes a statement where he's like, this has radicalized me. I am going to go to church. I am going to make babies. I am going... I was like, you are going to make babies because your favorite podcaster was assassinated? What a weird... Does your wife read this shit? Does she have to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, honey, we have to inseminate because of Charlie Kirk's death? It's like, shouldn't we have a kid because we want to have a kid and we love each other and we want to bring another life into this world and raise them properly? Yeah, but also I've been radicalized, so... Like, weird. This shit is all so fucking weird.
MacDonald essentially whitewashing Charlie Kirk's legacy and ignoring basically anything he ever said or did that was the least bit controversial. But this man with this song and this music video is just exploiting Charlie Kirk's death in the same exact way he's trying to, or was trying to up until this point, exploit the fact that Gavin Newsom is like really going at Trump right now and will likely run for president very soon. And believe me, personally, I'm no fan of Gavin Newsom, but like the fact that Tom was desperately trying to cling to this man's coattails for at least a little bit of attention, why he's doing it is obvious. It's not out of like some seriously and deeply held political imperative or philosophical worldview. The guy is a self-interested social media opportunist who's actually fucking Canadian. So if anything he says or does actually has any sort of like social or future downsides to it, I'm sure that guy can just go fuck off back over there. He does not have skin in the game like your average person who actually might have to live here long term. Now, another interesting thing I'll say about this new song of Tom's is that he's posted to the internet that sales from it, streams from it, whatever profits are generated from this track will be going together into a donation. But he's like kind of waiting.
Wait, he's donating to TBD? It will be donated. Oh, to who? To like a Charlie Kirk Foundation? We'll announce it later. You know what? I've discovered the org I want to donate it to. TBD. Yes, the plight of TBD has been horrifying, and so I think effectively TBD should be receiving all the funds. If you just say it will be donated, but you don't say to whom, and you're not going to be transparent about any of that, how can anyone trust you? I certainly don't. Like, I'm guessing he is printing cash from this shit. Like, the amount of fucking sales that are coming in where every single person is like, I want all of it. I want every single fucking, you know, song about Charlie Kirk. I want the t-shirts. I want the fucking, you know, the statues. I want there to be giant banners. And it's like, right. But the people who are selling all this kind of stuff, they're profiting from it. You know, like, it's not as if Benny Johnson is going to be putting up giant plaques to Charlie Kirk out of the goodness of his heart. He's not donating this of his own accord. I mean, goddamn, this whole thing is being turned into such a fucking market. It's wild. Viditat, thank you for the prime. Comedy is legal now, apparently. But only if you are joking about those pesky libs and Democrats.
To do it because he wants to give the biggest donation possible. Now, Charlie's family, and, you know, my heart goes out to them because obviously the death of a father, regardless of who that father is a pretty major and pretty awful thing for a family to have to sustain. Most likely they have a lot going on and they're probably not following the exploits of one Tom MacDonald here very closely and might not be, you know, like keeping tabs on or keeping a lookout for that donation when it comes. So what I would like is for all of you watching this video and any Tom fans also watching this video is to continue following Tom MacDonald's Hangover Gang Instagram page closely and just kind of make sure he follows through with that donation and maybe even potentially send to the family further donations, because it's not as if a song, once you give a donation, just stops generating profits. Maybe my read of Tom here is incorrect. Maybe he's more well-intentioned than I think he is. Either way, seeing that donation, proof of that donation, would be fantastic, especially after witnessing such a horrible tragedy. Ending off this video, I apologize. I'm a little at a loss for words. I don't really have many reflections to pass your way other than just things seem so insanely scary and fragmented right now. But I guess some recommendations that I could give you and some observations that I am having is that it seems a lot of this extremity and a lot of this mass psychosis, frankly, is being inflamed by just an overuse and an overindulgence in the internet and social media, especially on platforms whose algorithms tend to skew toward extreme political ideologies. So I'm not coming on here and saying that you should be avoiding the internet entirely or anything like that. But when you are online, you should limit your exposure to those sorts of platforms. You should instead embrace places and spaces where you know you're actually interacting with real people and not bots. And in addition to all of that, I recommend even more that all of you do your best to spend some time with some real people face to face for the love of God, and don't just simply allow everything that you see on the internet to paint the entirety of your worldview. I can already hear the keyboard strokes. Anthony, isn't that what you do? That's your terminally online brain talking. Shut the fuck up and turn that off and get the fuck off the computer, you idiot.
I'm gonna type that same comment anyway.
No. Let me know what you guys think about all of this down in the comments. I'm sure you will.
Commenty comment. Go support Melon, aka Anthony Fantano, in his many channels.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwig, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons.